Hello, everyone. Thank you for stopping by to our webinar. We're delighted to meet all of you on this virtual network. I am Victoria Echemendy, and I'm part of a team called Interfaith and Intercultural Connections. And we are sponsored by Unity Worldwide Ministries, that is an international movement. I'm also a Unity minister in Portland, Oregon. So hello from the West Coast, wherever you are. And we're talking today with a friend of mine. We've known each other almost 20 years. And her name is Laila Murphy. Hi, Laila.
Hi.
And she is a member of the Baha'i faith. So I thought it would be interesting to find out more about the Baha'i faith. I'm sure some of you have heard of the Baha'i faith and some maybe not. And there's a real depth and intensity in their movement and deep faith. So I think it's wonderful to explore that with Laila. She and I met at a 9/11 event almost 20 years ago, and she represented the Baha'i faith. And we've worked together for years and years through many special events and Sunday services and all kinds of ways. So we consider each other friends, and we're delighted to share this conversation with you. So welcome, Laila.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here and that you've asked me to come and spend some time with you and talk about spirituality.
And we're both in Portland. We're actually not at two ends of the country or the continents. But we are being very aware of the COVID requests of our governor, and so we're doing this in a virtual way.
Yeah, I think we live like 10 minutes apart, but here we are.
We would love to be doing this in the same room, but it just didn't work out that way. And we're grateful that you're able, and anyone that's listening, to join us. So one of the questions I wanted to start with, because I think it's interesting and other people might also, is that how does the Baha'i faith make or create its leadership? I think I understand you don't have clergy or ministers or priests or bishops. So how are you organized, and what defines all that? Who makes those decisions?
Right, thank you. Great question. Yes, so you're right. The Baha'i faith does not have clergy and bishops and leaders in that sense. Our faith has an administrative order, we call it, and it's based on elections by the members of the community and there's no campaigning. So there's no campaigning. It's all by ballot and secret prayerful election. And we elect members of what we call spiritual assemblies. So each community has, where there are 9 people or more that are over the age of 21, has the opportunity to have a local spiritual assembly. And so that governs the affairs of the Baha'i community in the city that we live in. And so then the local spiritual assembly is in our small cities. And then we have all over the world national spiritual assemblies, which is also a 9-member body elected by representatives from different parts of the country. So the United States, we have what's called a national convention. This year was online, of course. Usually it meets in person, and representatives of the Baha'i faith from around the country who have been elected silently at a prayerful gathering to represent their district will go and vote silently and prayerfully for a 9-member body, and that constitutes the National Spiritual Assembly. And that's one time every year. And then every 5 years, the National Spiritual Assemblies from all over the world come to Haifa, Israel, which is where our administrative center lies. It's our holy land, where we have a bunch of holy places and shrines. And the National Spiritual Assembly, so 9 people from virtually 150 countries will gather And there's this beautiful photo of 1,300 people from all walks of life electing the Universal House of Justice, which is it's like the world spiritual assembly. We call it the Universal House of Justice. 1,300 people from all over the world silently putting their ballot in and electing the 9-member body of the Universal House of Justice. And so we get our guidance from these institutions, and the guidance is based on the writings of Baha'u'llah, who's the founder of the Baha'i faith, of Baha'u'llah's son, Abdul Baha, who was appointed by Baha'u'llah to lead and interpret his writings, and then Abdul Baha's grandson, who gave us writings as well to follow and give us blueprint for how to build a divine civilization and infuse the world with spiritual principles and deeds. So the leadership, it's voted on, and in fact, it's servant leadership, as in every religion has. Their priests they're serving our community. The ministers are serving our community. So this is a body of people serving our community, but there's no hierarchy. And so, yeah, so like our community gatherings, instead of like someone preparing a talk or a sermon, we would have our church service we call feast, 19-day feast, it's called, every 19 days. And we gather, and a member of the community takes turns hosting. So like, in fact, last night, my mother hosted our Lake Oswego feast. And then we get guidance, letters from the Universal House of Justice and our National Spiritual Assembly. And so all over the world, the entire Baha'i world is getting the same letter from the Universal House of Justice that they've contemplated on. This right now, it's a lot about race relations and how to, be part of the solution for that. And the whole world is getting the same letter, translated in many, many languages. And then each country gets a letter at their feast from the National Spiritual Assembly of that country. So, United States has its own issues, and then other countries have their own. And so the National Spiritual Assembly has its pulse on the community of the nation, and then sends out guidance. And then the local spiritual assemblies also have their pulse on our cities. And then, what can we do in Lake Oswego to help race relations? That's a big topic every single time we're talking about that. So I hope that's a clear answer.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
So I think a lot of us don't really know when the Baha'i faith was started. You mentioned some of the leaders, when, where, and
Great. And how.
Yeah, it's definitely, and how, and definitely international.
Yes, so great, great. Yes, it's important to know the beginnings. So the Baha'i faith began in Iran, or Iran, however you want to say it, then Persian Empire, in 1863. So it's a very young faith, by a man named Baha'u'llah, which was in fact his title. So Baha'u'llah means glory of God. Baha in Arabic means glory, and then Allah you hear, like in the Islamic Allah we call God. Baha'u'llah, so servant of God, that's his title. So that's where that's like parallel to Jesus, Muhammad, Zoroaster, Buddha. So that's Baha'u'llah is the founder of the Baha'i faith. And what's unique and interesting is we also have a movement that was just a very short movement before Baha'u'llah declared his mission of unity and peace and many things. But we had a forerunner to Baha'u'llah named the Bab, and in Arabic, B-A-B with the accent means the gate. So the Bab is a forerunner to Baha'u'llah whose only purpose was to prepare the people for the coming of Baha'u'llah. So the Bab, we have holy writings that the Baha'is use and prayers of the Bab, and they were called Babis, followers of the Bab. Babis. And this was in Iran as well. This was in Iran. But the Bab was born in Shiraz, Iran, and Baha'u'llah was born in Tehran, Iran, the capital. And so the Bab prepared the way, prepared the people for the coming of Baha'u'llah. There were thousands of Babis, and they were very persecuted, as in many religions are. It's like, what are these people saying? There's something new. And then the governments were nervous about these peaceful people. So the Bab is the forerunner to Baha'u'llah. The Bab declared his mission in 1844. So that's often a year that we use to start like the beginning of the Baha'i faith. So the Baha'i faith, 1844, foretold the coming of Baha'u'llah, who came 1863 and declared his mission in 1863. He was born into a wealthy family. His father, wealthy. He, at a young age, both the Bab and Baha'u'llah had like they knew languages, and they just knew a lot, and they were in school, but they almost didn't need to be. You hear this about the young prophets of God or the manifestations of God. And so Baha'u'llah declared his mission then, and then it spread around now, what are we, 2020? Not that much time has gone by, but there are Baha'is in roughly all countries and territories of the world. I think last I saw the statistic was next to Christianity, the Baha'i faith is the most widespread religion. So it's fun to see, as it is in many religions, the way it's culturally expressed in other countries. Yes. We're like, we want to go to the Congo. They have more energy, or the beauty of the dancing at various events. So then Baha'u'llah appointed his son, Abdul Baha. These are all titles, and so you're learning a little Arabic today. Abdul means servant, so servant of Baha, Abdul Baha. And Abdul Baha is the greatest example for Baha'is. It's like we were given this gift of the perfect exemplar of the Baha'i faith. So we have many, many writings about Abdul Baha's example. And so, especially as young children, we read the stories of Abdul Baha, how kind he was and forgiving and all these stories. So we have this example to look at. That's a human, right? I mean, Baha'u'llah, human, but has like, you almost can't even relate, because Baha'u'llah, Jesus, Zoroaster, Muhammad, I feel like they're on a different, they're channeling God's word. Abdul Baha was as well, but then he was like a little more attainable in terms of, I can do that. So we were given this beautiful example. And what's unique too, is Baha'u'llah appointed Abdul Baha the only interpreter of his writings. Not that we can't, as individuals, interpret and have the writings be part of our lives, but we can't make up new laws. I can't make up a new sect of the Baha'i faith. I can't make up a new schism, because unity is our main principle. That's why we get along so well, Victoria. Unity is our main principle. And so if the Baha'i faith isn't unified in its religion, like there are little offshoots, like this kind of Baha'i or that kind, then it wouldn't work the same way. And so Baha'u'llah made Abdul Baha his successor to then be, I guess, the leader, the servant leader of the Baha'i faith once he passed. And then Abdul Baha appointed his grandson named Shoghi Effendi, learning all these Arabic names, who's called the guardian of the faith, and wrote writings and writings and writings, tons of writings. And we have beautiful letters, and one's called The Advent of Divine Justice. And I wish I had it here, but it's all about racial prejudice. And he wrote this, I think in the 30s, I might be wrong. And we have this blueprint, Baha'is study it all over the world. And we have guidance from them. And so then the House of Justice uses Shoghi Effendi's writings and Baha'u'llah's and Abdul Baha's. So I hope that's a lot of, that's our origins.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, in the brief form, of course, but because I'm sure you could go.
I know, there's a lot of information.
how on earth did a young mother and music teacher, accomplished musician in Lake Oswego, Oregon,
Yeah.
how did you become a Baha'i?
Yeah, great. Right. It's like so far away from, right? 8,000 miles from Iran. So very good question. My dad actually is Persian or Iranian. So he, lucky for me, I feel blessed, was born into a Baha'i family. And so my grandmother Amineh, who I love, I'm wearing her beautiful ring that she gave me. She was also born into a Baha'i family. So I think we even have Babi relatives, like way back, early relatives. My uncle used to read, history and be like, this is one of your relatives. So I have a family connection to the origins of the faith because my dad is from Iran. However, one of the main tenets of the Baha'i faith is independent investigation of the truth. So you don't have to be born into a Baha'i family. And in fact, we encourage everyone to find out for themselves what's true. So we're not going to push, my parents didn't push ideas on me. And so, yeah, but my mom grew up in a Lutheran church or wherever, I think I told you this, wherever her mother was playing organ. So sometimes they were Methodist, sometimes they were Lutheran, they just went to whatever Sunday school. And so my mom heard of the Baha'i faith in high school and then met my dad and loved the teachings of the Baha'i faith and just decided to join and pursue that avenue of her spiritual life. And then they raised us in the Baha'i community, and I chose, and I feel it in my heart to continue to be a Baha'i and live in the world as a Baha'i. So yeah, so that's me in Lake Oswego, coming from Iran. Yeah.
A long way, but it's certainly a journey of
big journey,
spiritual growth and understanding.
Yeah.
So we are going to take a break.
Okay.
So we don't know. Some people are taking a class listening to we will be interviewing almost 20 different spiritual teachers, leaders, representatives in our webinar series. We're very excited about this. And we're dividing the session into two parts so people can have some discussion about different faiths, what different people believe, etc. But before we do that, I did just want to ask you, what are some of your favorite rituals or celebrations? I know you have a lot of wonderful celebrations.
Yeah.
And or traditions. Just pick a couple that kind of maybe come to mind that would either people would be, oh, that's similar to mine, or people would go, wow, that is different.
Okay, yeah, great. I love that. Yeah, so we have 9 holy days throughout the year, and some of them are celebratory, where you honor the birth of Baha'u'llah or the birth of the Bab, and then some are a little more solemn, where they've passed, and so you honor those days. And we take off school and work on those days and have a day with our family and commemorations in our community. I think what maybe people could relate to is we have a festive time that's called Ayamiha. Again, Arabic word. Everyone's learning Arabic today, which just means days of Ha, or days of 4. No, I think Ha is 5. Here's what it is. We have, similar to the Islamic faith, we have a fasting period that's in March, about March 1st to the 20th. We fast from sunrise to sunset for 19 days, and it's a spiritual cleansing and physical, and check in with your divinity. And then right before the fasting, we have the Ayamiha, which is 4 days of celebration, gift giving, acts of service. And so the children love this. The families, and we try to make it extra special. My mom throws great parties for my kids. They get lots of presents. We're supposed to do small gifts, but sometimes they're bigger. Yeah, and so that's our gift giving season. And we try to do like a service project around that time. Well, we try to do service projects all the time, but that's a special time. And it's also preparation for the fasting period. And then at the end of the fast, we have Nowruz, which is the new year in our calendar. That's maybe a whole other discussion, but we have a Baha'i calendar. And Nowruz is like the new year, first day of spring. It's also the Persian New Year, so it correlates with that. And Baha'is are very happy to be eating lunch on Nowruz. Cheers to lunch. So yeah, so those are our fun festive times.
Yeah, well, let's take a break now. And we invite anyone that's listening to us, just take a stretch break, or if you're in a group, take an opportunity to share what you've been learning and some ideas, maybe share with someone else what are your favorite rituals or festivals in your spiritual tradition, and how much do you know the history of your background and how you came to your faith, or is it something you've recently discovered within yourself? Okay, we'll be back in a few. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you had a good discussion or a good stretch break, or maybe journaled a little bit or wrote something down. Maybe you're going to look it up on the internet, or you're going to try and do more research. And is there a Baha'i in my neighborhood where you could connect with people and ask more questions? We're always in Unity. We love to ask questions. And we also love to say, we don't have answers. You have your own answers, the divine presence within you. So I'd like to ask you, this is a good one. How can people sensitively, I like that word, how can people sensitively ask you or other people questions about Baha'i without seeming rude or stepping on your toes? What is the best way to approach questions like, you don't do Christmas? What? Or you meet every 19 days in people's home? What?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, great question. And I was pondering this with my daughter, actually, with Zia, my 13-year-old. And I said, because you sent me a couple questions you might ask. Right. I was pondering a little bit. And we both said, well, I think we love every question, you know? And I personally, I'm coming personally, I'm not a leader, I'm not representative of every single Baha'i, of course, but from my own perspective, I don't feel like anything would be stepping on my toes, personally, and in this country. However, in other countries, and again, I can't speak for them, but Persian or Baha'is are very, they're persecuted in Iran and in Yemen. They're put in prison. They're not allowed to go to school. They're often they're arrested. I met some friends here who just came from Iran, Baha'is, and I said, how is it over there? And they go, well, you just expect you're going to be arrested at some point. They'll come in, whoever it is comes into your home, government that is not, not a holy government for sure. Bless them. Will come in and take people arrest them for believing in Baha'u'llah and thinking they're doing things. So that's a tricky question. I think I will never be offended by anything you ask me personally. Baha'is always love to share about their faith and teach people who are interested. But yeah, we don't celebrate Christmas. However, we honor Christmas. It's not one of our main holidays. My family, my mom actually did do Christmas with us. My husband grew up in a Baha'i family. They didn't do it. My kids ask me why as well. I said, well, we honor it and we're going to pray and honor Jesus Christ because we believe Jesus and all the prophets of God are equal and the same voice of God. So Christmas, Hanukkah, they're not exactly Baha'i holy days. So anyway, that's kind of a twisted answer to ask me anything. I think the culture is we won't get offended, and we what a lovely question though that you
Yeah.
care so much about making sure that you're saying asking the right things and honoring our laws and our traditions, and
Right.
I appreciate that.
So we've done many Christmas Eve services
Yeah.
together. So I know you do Christmas at least with us.
I do, and I love Christmas, and we even Baha'u'llah tells us to honor all members of other religions before ourselves even. So
that was going to be my next question.
Okay.
Because I know you use the word unity a lot, and I think that's an underlying core value in an English American kind of terminology, since you've used so many Arabic terms.
Right, English. I actually don't even know the word in Arabic for unity. I probably should.
Yeah. So unity, I'm curious because I've seen that thread in you and heard from other Baha'i people that you honor all of the world's religions. So how do you interact? How do you actually incorporate other religions? Do you read other teachings? How do you practice that?
Okay, again, great question. Love that. So let me start with this will help frame it. One of the main teachings of Baha'u'llah is called progressive revelation. So progressive meaning continual, and then revelation of God's word. Right. And so what Baha'u'llah taught us is that the religions are a continual unfoldment of God's plan for humanity. So in essence, it's all one. It's all one religion, unfolding as humanity grows and is mature enough to take on the next task. Okay, so the universal principles don't change. Love one another, justice, forgiveness, love your neighbor, kindness. That's all the same. There's nothing that's changing. And so what changes is there's more. So humanity's now ready for more of God's message. And so Baha'u'llah came 170 years ago, roughly, and brought teachings unique to this time period. Doesn't mean the teachings from the other faiths aren't valid. In fact, they're 100% true. 100%, it's the same voice. I love this. Zoroaster, Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, Moses, I don't want to leave anyone out, Krishna, Baha'u'llah, the Bab, and more that I probably don't even know of, are the same voice of God. It's the same voice, and they're just a mouthpiece for that time period. And so you asked, how do we incorporate other religions? We have our own set of writings. Luckily for us, because the Baha'i faith is so new, we have the writings of our manifestation of God, of our prophet, right? We have these writings, these prayers that can guide us, and they're not like stories told by. And so we're lucky we have these. And but Baha'is, for sure, there's so many books. Islam and the Baha'i faith, Mormon religion and the Baha'i faith, ancient Chinese religions and the Baha'i faith, and how they relate. And at our feast, so here's an example. We at our feasts, we only use the writings of Baha'u'llah, the Bab, and Abdul Baha. So that's our main infusion. But I tell you, if I had all the time in the world, and I know many Baha'is, they do Bible studies, they do studies with the Quran, because it's all like this river of knowledge and this progressive revelation. So that's a nice term that maybe is unique. So Baha'u'llah honors and it's like the same voice of God throughout. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
I'd love to be on interfaith panels and stuff as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I know that you're carrying that into the next generation, and your children are very involved. I'm very curious also about how do you see the Baha'i faith lifting the world in what's going on to now in this
Yes.
time?
Yeah.
You know, I know you mentioned social justice. I know we talked a little bit about women's rights, that's always been a part of Baha'i.
Mm-hmm.
And so what in this time frame, in this current world, is the Baha'i faith focusing on?
Mm-hmm.
And once again, people all over the world, I'm sure, are doing it differently,
Mm-hmm.
you know, wherever they are. But in this particular scenario, you're in the U.S. What would you say is really the Baha'i gift to help raise us up right now?
Oh, that's very, very nice. Yeah. Yes. Wow. Yeah. Great question. So I think the Baha'i gift is that we have this guidance that we follow, that's to infuse our neighborhoods with spirit. And so our mandate is to, every one of us in our little neighborhoods, is to bring spirituality and offer it to our neighbors and create bonds of friendship and unity with those neighbors. And in particular, finding people that are of a different color than you, making sure that you're honoring all people as a noble soul. And so we have tools, what we call the core activities, we call them core activities, not Arabic, it's English. It's all over the world, however. So, you know, in Spanish, activi, I don't know how to say it, but anyway, in our country and all over the world, we have what's called the core activities that are children's classes, junior youth groups, devotional meetings, so prayer meetings and prayer and meditation, and then study of the sacred word. Now that's not unique. That's not necessarily unique. Every religion, I feel like, has those elements. So the Baha'is are just striving to create that in their neighborhoods. It's a daily act. And Baha'u'llah has a quote that says, "Let deeds, not words, be your adorning. Let deeds, not words, be your adorning." And so the words are great. The teachings are great. We love them. Equality of women and men, one of our main teachings. Elimination of all prejudices. Harmony of science and religion. Elimination of extremes of wealth and poverty. So Baha'u'llah brought these teachings. Well, they're wonderful. They're not unique just to Baha'is, right? That sounds like what Unity's working on too, right? Mm-hmm. So, but Baha'is choose to do it with the guidance and with the writings, and there's a special potency to the Baha'i writings and the prayers. Maybe I can share one at the end, that we feel have a significant, can have a significant impact and create discussion and elevated conversations. Yeah, so United States, we have those, our core activities, which then infuse our neighborhoods with spiritual food, and then bring us together, bring us more together. So yeah, it's hard work.
It is. It is.
As you know.
Yes. As we work together.
Yeah.
As we work together.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We have to work together. That's it.
Find new connections and new ways of doing that besides what we've done before.
Exactly.
I'd like for you to share with everyone where your daughter is right now.
Yeah.
She's in Israel, and she said a prayer for us today, which was wonderful.
Yes, she's there right now.
And that is the world headquarters. So young people go and are in service, and what a wonderful opportunity for her.
Yeah. We miss her. It's been almost a year, but it's so great. So yeah, my daughter Malaika, she's almost 19. Instead of going straight to college, she decided to spend a year of service. We call it our period of service. The youth in the Baha'i world are encouraged to spend a period of service when they're young and they have energy, and they're not tied to a family yet, or, So she's in Haifa, Israel, which is about an hour and a half north of Tel Aviv. And that's where like you said, our headquarters are, and also where the Bob and Abdul Baha, who are the prominent educators of our faith and like our leaders and our who we follow, they're buried there. So there are shrines that Malaika gets to be next to every day. So, and then Baha'u'llah is buried in Akka, which is about 20 minutes north of Haifa. And so we have like where they're buried. It's quite lovely, and it's very holy. And we actually face, when we say our prayers, we face east like Muslims towards the shrine of Baha'u'llah. So I get to face east, which is like towards Mount Hood. I'm pointing this way. And I'm like, my daughter's there. But like you said, youth, yeah, it's so sweet. Youth from all over the world can have the opportunity to serve. So she has met people. Her best friend there now is from Argentina, and her team, she does security, and her team, her team is like, I don't think there's an American on her team. Germany, Zimbabwe, Mongolia, Peru, Argentina, and it's just lovely, and we're so proud of her. And so she's in this, it's paradise for sure. It's right on the Mediterranean, and you see pictures, there are palm trees and lovely gardens that are maintained by a lot of the youth. They do gardening and custodial work and help the place run. And this is where actually pre-COVID, where we go on our pilgrimage. So for 6 months, luckily, before coronavirus hit, she was meeting the pilgrims from all over the world who would come. It's a 9-day pilgrimage, and you visit the holy sites of where this certain prayer was revealed, or Baha'u'llah revealed this tablet here, and Abdul Baha lived in this home, and you go and visit these holy places. And so she got to meet pilgrims from all over the world as well.
Yeah.
What a unique opportunity for her. Yeah.
Right. Well, this has been a great discussion. I've learned so much, and I think we could keep talking and talking.
Yeah, how much time do we have? We need to wrap it up.
Our time is coming to just about an end.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share or let us know about your faith? Something that you feel you carry every day as your spiritual truth?
Just trying to spread unity and love to every human being I meet. There's a quote that says, if this is deep, if someone offers you a deadly poison, give them the choicest honey in exchange. Woo! Imagine.
Yeah.
If someone offers you a deadly poison, give them the choicest honey in exchange. Let deeds, not words, be your adorning. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illumine the whole earth. God grant that the light of unity may envelop the whole earth. So those flow through. And also, bite my tongue, and kindly words are the lodestone of the hearts of men. A kindly tongue, a kindly word is the magnet of the hearts. And so trying to practically use that every day in my family, with my children, it's a work in progress. And then also out in the open, and preferring other people before myself. I don't have all the answers. I'm just choosing to follow this way and align myself with human beings we're just trying to do the right thing.
Right. Are you, and you went to close with a prayer. Are you going to say it or sing it?
I'll sing it. Sure. Sometimes on Zoom it gets a little funny, so I'll sing quietly.
Okay.
So it doesn't overdo.
You could say it and then sing it.
Sure. Okay. I kind of said it before. Yeah, it's short. Yeah. Okay. God grant that the light of unity may envelop the whole earth, and that the seal, the kingdom is God's, may be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples. And I'll sing it too. God grant that the light of unity may envelop the whole earth, and that the seal, the kingdom is God's, may be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples, may be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples, may be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful sharing.
Thank you, Victoria.
I hope everyone that was listening goes away with questions in their head and some new learning and some new respect for the Baha'i faith and coming together in different faiths, different walks of life as we come to unity. Bless you, and bless everyone that was listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.